Hey, Paul.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I didn't realize the lighting was so bad in here. Let me see if I can sit elsewhere.
There was too much light for you?
Oh, no. You're fine. You're
Oh no,
fine.
I meant on your end there was too much light. Or...
Oh, no. Not enough. It looks... Well, maybe I just had my brightness down.
Oh shit! I just unplugged something. Okay, there we go.
Oh, yeah. That might be it. Okay. I like the little pillar you got going on back there.
Thank you. All right, so wait, I gotta make my deal bigger so I can see myself.
I'm surprised you're up at, what is it, 440 there?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, you stay up pretty late, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you work pretty late, don't you?
Yeah. I got off work at, what, midnight?
I'm just trying to figure out how to. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, that's much better. Much better. So I can monitor my end as well, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and it's great because now, yeah, it's actually giving it to me how we're gonna look, you know, kind of, you know, side by side on that deal. That's awesome. Okay.
Nice.
So now I gotta pop my beer. I gotta start my camera. Yeah. Give me just a moment here.
Are you a whiskey man at all?
Do what?
Are you a whiskey man at all?
Hold on a second. Am I gonna do what at all?
Oh, I said, are you a whiskey man at all?
Oh yeah. I got upstairs. I got whiskey and I got some vodka. I mean, you know, we had that model shoot, and oh, I guess you saw part of it, didn't you?
Yeah.
So there was just a bunch of liquor left over from that.
Nice. No, I recently
I've already got my
became
camera
really...
set up. I just got to turn it on here.
No worries.
Well, I already checked the picture and everything. Let's see. Yep. Oh, that's about right. Let's see. Okay, cool. All right, here I come. All right. Probably help if I turned on the camera. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you realize, but you know, I'm basically do a two-camera shoot. You know, like say for instance, right now there's this laptop that I'm, you know, we're communicating on, and that's recording automatically, and then I've got that DSLR. So
Nice. Yeah, two different angles, two things going.
yeah, and then not only that, the DSLR is 1080p. This Mac AirBook is only 720p, if you can believe that.
Really?
Yeah, but it gets pretty damn good picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, it helps to have the lights. Just
yeah. Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. All right, so are you ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Let's put in a call to Canada. No, wait, not Canada. Let's put in a call to Alaska. Nome, Alaska? No, not Nome, Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage, Alaska. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. All right. Okay. Go pick up the old bat phone here. Hello. Yes, give me Anchorage, Alaska, please. Yeah. May I speak with Paul Reyes? Oh, yes. I'll hold on. Thank you. Hey, Paul. Paul, are you there?
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us this evening. It's a little bit, I don't know if it's a little late or if it's a little early.
Probably somewhere in the middle.
All right, man. Your voice is coming through loud and clear. So I guess now
Rock
it's time
on.
for no further ado. I'm Anthropos, and welcome to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do, because then something bad might happen to you. All right. On our show last week, we had a special episode, Paul Reyes from Alaska. And he's joining us again tonight. Paul, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Long day, but it's all good.
Awesome. You know, we were talking earlier tonight, just for a few minutes, about, our last interview and everything like that, and how, it was a very good interview. I mean, I think we've been getting over, I don't know if we've been getting overwhelmingly good response, but it just hasn't been out very long.
No, yeah, about a week, so.
Yeah.
Understandable.
And I spoke to someone in Texas who actually hadn't seen it yet, somebody you know, and they were a little bit upset that there had already been like maybe 3 thumbs downs or whatever. And I was quick to bring up the fact that, hey, at least those people watched it.
That is very true.
You know what I mean? Usually to give a thumbs down, you at least watch about 5 minutes, and, I'm not sure, there is such a thing as trolls.
Oh, yeah. No, they're very easy to spot, too.
Yeah, and especially when they start writing their comments and stuff.
Oh, God. It's usually the spelling, grammar, and complete wackiness of what's going on that points it out.
Yeah, especially if they're paid shills.
Well, yeah, no, it's all the keywords are there normally.
Yeah, I have a feeling they, they don't get paid very much, and then they probably make them troll 2 or 3 shows at the same time, so they're just like going crazy, sending bad remarks all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's a copy-paste issue across very many different things. I think there is a designated government program for trolling, isn't there?
There's a program that what?
A government-funded program for trolling?
Oh, sure. You bet.
Like, I don't think it has very many. Well, maybe it does have a lot of people. I don't know. I imagine. Jeez, they're everywhere. But
did you hear this rumor online?
It was, God, what was it? Kind of hate to admit it, but I was going through a bunch of Q stuff, and there was talk about that. How there was like a certain section of the government that had paid people and trained them to be trolls specifically for the purpose of trolling various platforms. And I think the main goal was Reddit initially, because that's where Q was posting and stuff like that. And that got really big. And then eventually Reddit just up and completely deleted entire sections and channels and whatever it's called. Just completely erased all of like that Q conspiracy stuff off of it.
Yeah.
Which, is fine because it doesn't mean anything like they say on the media.
We, back in the day, we got the idea, a spy was like someone like James Bond, who was going around, with all these ladies in a Jaguar or whatever, BMW, Walther PPK.
Oh, yeah. Suits and Walther PPKs, man.
Today, I have the feeling that most of your spies are more like bloggers.
Cyber spies.
Bloggers that they just hire to be trolls.
Yeah, no, I could see that. It's not as sexy as Hollywood would like you to think.
No, it's really not. It's really not. It's pretty tough, I would imagine, especially once you get into whatever certain levels where they're actually doing the mind control on you.
Yeah, no, and there's such like subtle little psyops too. Gosh, I can't think of the details. It was referenced, didn't like Ellen DeGeneres and Jimmy Fallon, I think, both performed subtle mind control psyops on their audiences at one point or another.
Oh, sure.
And yeah, you can find them online. It's weird little almost ritualistic type thing. It's I wonder sometimes how often these events are just little, tests. Like, hey, what'll happen? What'll they do?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, I think it's almost it's all a test, or as I like to say, it's all a ritual.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
life is a ritual. I mean, from beginning to end, ritual, ritual, ritual. And you know what? That's the one thing we hear so often. Accusation we hear against these elite or these these controllers behind the scenes is they're very into rituals.
Oh yeah. No. The whole dark magic, sacrificial, blood ritual thing. I in I mean that's just prominent in our history in general. Period. Going all the way back. So it's really not as far fetched as I think people try to downplay it too.
Yeah, and now they
'Cause-
downplay it by almost just admitting it or putting it out in the open.
Mhm. I've
Uh,
uh, I've gotten just little almost jokes or offhanded comments. I've gotten some pretty serious backlash from people for saying things like that. Like um, I've had a coworker like in the middle of work, just stop and be like, there really isn't some government conspiracy to kidnap children and reptiles don't live within the earth and blah blah blah, blah and you're fucking crazy. I was like, wow, time and place, time and place, man.
people are they saying that just to get your goat because they know that you believe in conspiracies or what?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, well,
Like I
it's
totally
fascinating.
believe that's the case because I've had numerous debates and arguments from a very basic human political level to, a fantastic Twilight Zone episode style thing, and nobody, I don't know, nobody likes it. I guess is an easy way to put it. Nobody likes talking or hearing about it in any sense, be it a joke or be it serious.
Oh yeah, at all. No, that's the last thing they want to hear about.
Mm.
It's fascinating. It's almost to me. It's almost like evidence of the a matrix like aspect to the reality that we live in.
Yeah, nobody wants their sense of what they believe to be true challenged.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so I can understand the fight response on that, but I don't know, logic, man. I think we have more than enough evidence for most of this.
Yeah.
For,
Well, I've given up most of my beliefs within the last few years. Believe it or not. I mean, even as going as far as up is down and down is up, and whatever that just just done a dump of beliefs, and
mm-hmm.
it's that can be challenging, very challenging in itself. But when you do that, it also adds a layer of protection because people can no longer, you know, fuck with you
Well,
like
that's
that.
true, because, like, you lose all of that stuff, all of your beliefs, the things that ultimately built you to be who you think you are. And then that falls apart, and it's frightening because then what's left? What do you have to hold on to? And so that I do, you're right, there's a strength in that because you find yourself at your core without all of those things, and you're stronger for it. And then nobody has anything to use against you.
You're absolutely right. There is no one can present an idea to me just as an idea that's going to threaten me.
Mm-hmm.
There's not. I mean, there's just not. I've already gone there. I've already considered that. I've already seen that the reality is probably worse than most people can handle.
Yeah, I believe that. Anywhere, I hate the term and I hate to say it like this, but if you no matter what conspiracy theory you want to look at, it's all the same thing. It all amounts to a mind-shattering event. To see that kind of truth is going to rock everything you believe, like everything to the core. Yes. But once it shakes that foundation, it'll run loose all the nonsense.
In the quote-unquote truther community, where everyone's supposedly looking for the truth, let me tell you what I found out. And that is, the truth is not something to be sought after, even though that's ostensibly what we're doing. The truth is, in fact, something that people should be shielded from.
Because of the potential consequences?
Because they can't handle it. They can't handle it. And you know why? You know how I know that they can't handle it? Because I've brushed up against it, and I can't handle it. And whoever you are out there listening to this right now, I'm tougher than you are by a lot. And if I can't handle it, you're fucked. Okay? That's just it. Yeah, it's that bad.
Mine, I don't know. I've contemplated exactly how much fear it would take or what exactly it would take to shatter my resolve, to completely nullify me, mind and body, to just stand static and let whatever come because I can't do anything else. And my honest answer would be that which I believe to be, that which I'm afraid to be true. Seeing that, like believing something and having that manifest in such a manner, I think would completely shatter my world.
Or maybe it already has. I mean, the thing is, we, basically, the one philosophy or one, idea or precept I've come across is that everyone in the world wants the same thing, whether they know it or not. And it's not peace, joy, happiness, success, and all this stuff. Everyone has one core belief, one thing they want more than anything else, and that is to not be tortured to death.
Yes.
That binds every human being on the planet. Everyone definitely does not want to be tortured to death. And so you see some, tough people and people that have been in war and everything, and, you've unimaginable what they've been through. But then you take it even one step further. Well, who can you take it one step further? MK Ultra, mind control, survivors.
Well, and that's like the almost the epitome of what horror that could be, because that wasn't just people, that started at children.
Yes.
It all starts with children.
Yeah, and I mean, to toughen them up or whatever it is, or to just break them down, it's just bizarre. The idea that, not that there can be some good had out of these activities, but there can be actual power, some type of power. It's elusive. We can't really understand what it is, gained by torturing these people. In other words, but not only the power, okay, that's, maybe we can imagine that because we think, oh, well, if you torture all these people, then everyone's going to be scared of you, then you're going to be all powerful and everything like that because everyone's going to do what you say because they're scared of you. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there's some type of science behind it. There is some type of science, legitimate science, that involves torturing human beings.
Well, you go back to Joseph Mengele. I mean, starting with like everything he did, didn't they just recently release new documents, like actual photographs of children in these positions? That, God damn it! What's the easiest way to explain this? Stranger Things did an excellent job of showing how that plays out. And I mean, I'm sure everybody who's watching this probably to some degree or another understands MK Ultra. I'm hoping, and the events that happened, the massive amounts of sensory deprivation, and making people watch scenes of violence over and over, just traumatizing, shattering the mind in the most absolutely horrid ways possible, in order to cause somebody to disassociate from themselves. And, as an adult, that's inarguably traumatic. As a child, that's incomprehensible because they haven't even begun to fathom what trauma could even possibly be. And there's someone I was researching who alluded to something ungodly sinister, and it was he had claimed it was the key of Solomon, the idea of shattering. That's what he called it. It was shattering the mind, fracturing the mind. And when they put children through these things where they they love them for a year and then they just brutalize them for the next year, and it completely destroys the child's sense of, well, wait, you're supposed to love me, what is going on? And it fractures the mind. It causes a honeycombing in the mind, in the brain, and then they're able to put different personalities in these different honeycombs, these different spots, and then trigger them using words, symbols. If anybody doesn't know that now you do. And so it starts there, but didn't they use these kids? Didn't this evolve into the Montauk Project and eventually the remote viewing that was used by the CIA? God damn it, what was I getting at? Oh, they go through all of this to traumatize. The easier way for them to do this, which is I don't, there's not a word for it. Another way to do this is by sexual assault. And it has the same effect. It shatters that part of the mind and causes it to actually honeycomb out. And that was, I think, was their quickest way of causing that to happen. And then from there, they could, they have a clean street to just program away, put whatever they want in there. I want them to be a sex kitten, they're a fucking sex kitten. This guy's going to be an assassin in the future. He's an assassin. We can use him to freaking relay messages back and forth, and he won't even know. And they just went for it. They have there's the assassin programs, couriers, sex slaves. There is the
news anchormen, rock stars.
Yeah, Hollywood. It's full. It's easy. It's Hollywood's a joke. You create idols that are all fucked up and have people follow them into hell, effectively, to put it that way. Jesus, what was it? You were talking about the science behind it and things. Isn't the Delta programming isn't it psychic abilities?
You mean like a Delta Special Forces soldier?
Oh, no. The Delta programming, like how there's alpha, beta, and then each one's two different ones. Delta, I believe, was the psychic programming.
Yeah, I guess so. I've heard that, the beta was maybe the sex kitten or something like that. I mean, these are maybe reduced terms or something like this.
Yeah, I think, I may have the terminology wrong here.
It's fascinating. I worked out today with my personal trainer. And she's someone I was working out with 2 years ago when I got real big, but I've been with her about a month now. And didn't like the other gym we were going to. We go to different gyms, but anyway, we worked out at a place today, which was one of my favorite places. They have to take me someplace because I have to go during the day, and basically we have to be alone because I'm like very loud, when I'm working out, because she literally like tortures me. But anyway, we worked out at a gym today called Atomic Athlete. And Atomic Athlete is a very extreme gym where just by coincidence, all the special forces personnel in the military in Austin work out at this place. So, I'm there working out. It's all a big coincidence, behind closed doors, yelling and screaming,
Yeah. Oh, man.
It's just, don't get me wrong. I'm just joking about that. I'm not trying to compare a workout.
No.
But it's got some weird similarities, doesn't it?
I I don't believe in coincidences. So yeah, definitely. I think they're mathematically impossible. So it's along the whole lines of everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's the, uh, the one thing about this mind control and everything like this is the one thing that's hardest for me to wrap my head around is that that the human being can be made to do something and then can be made to forget about it.
Yeah, yes.
And
At the drop of a word or a sign, a hand signal, touch, anything.
so if this is true, then you take it one step further and say, "Oh my gosh, but they couldn't do that to me, could they?" You know what I mean? And that's when the thoughts start getting scary. And so that's why, people can get obsessed with thinking about this stuff because thinking, oh my gosh, has it been done to me? And most people
Yeah.
don't sit around thinking thoughts like that. But there's guys like you and me who've probably been thinking about shit like that our whole lives, and
Well, you start to question things like, I don't know, you find yourself doing something out of the normal. Why? Like breaking habit, going someplace, not doing your routine or going somewhere else to eat that you've never been to. When you always do the same thing on a Tuesday, like, yeah, I can see that getting kind of wild and out of control.
yeah, and then
And you start to
but
think
especially
along those lines.
for a regular person. But then when you start talking about someone like you or me who's had basically extraordinary lives, mine not nearly as extraordinary as yours, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I beg to differ, but
Well,
um,
I've got some psychics and everything, and I don't know if this is true, but the thought is that definitely just everyone's. Let's just start with everyone's under mind control. If they've ever seen a TV, they're under
yeah,
some type
oh
of
yeah,
influencing. Okay, but the idea that I really I'm kind of leaning towards that I haven't been through this torture type programming and stuff. And I've got three psychics that tell me that I haven't. But they tell me I'm definitely under mind control, but it's more of a hypnotic type thing that was done to me throughout my childhood and stuff like this.
yeah.
And apparently maybe there's other type of programs. I don't know.
I would imagine so. I guess just to err on the side of caution, but I would hope not. But I think I would be a fool not to assume so.
Not to assume what?
Assume that there's more programs, more methods, more ways
Oh yeah, right.
of doing things.
Well, the people who I was telling you earlier about this 5-star group that I'm in, and I am the only one in the whole group, and there's only 21 of us. I'm the only one, I think, except maybe one other, except for Tony Rodriguez. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Well, he's an experiencer and a super soldier. He's done a lot of programs and stuff. But I'm the only one, except for maybe him, that didn't know either Max Spears or James Casbolt personally.
Really?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
And there's
No, I found that I was always when I looked at the past few years up into his death, I found that I had always left where he was going in Texas right before he showed up.
Yeah,
which frustrated the shit out of me because
and there's this weird deal about your mom naming you Max Spears. I didn't understand that. Is that something?
When she had told me to look him up, there was because I was starting to go on. I had brought up the Mandela effect and stuff to her, and she kind of laughed at me and was like, "Look this guy up." And as she put it, I was asking around the right questions, but she didn't want to just like start telling me stuff. She wanted me to find it myself. So she gave me that name and told me to start there. And so that's where that came about. And it really, I don't think it wouldn't have stuck if I hadn't had heard him tell his flying story, his dream of flying into the sky. And then he met the old like witch crone lady who in the sky floated above his house and whatever else. And it was hearing him detail that messed me up, to put it easily.
Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, the dream when I woke up flying above my house.
Oh, in other words, y'all had an identical dream, almost.
Except I didn't get to see what was at the top. He saw a crone, or like, an old witch, your idea of an old fairy tale witch. He saw that. I didn't get to see what was above me. So that's the only difference there. But, and then, I guess on the subject of dreams, though, or things like that, I have an issue with the ones where I can't see the sky. I know last time I detailed a colorful sky, like the orange and purple. And I think I told you about that. And there was, it looked like, I said there were ships up there. To be more specific, it looked like clouds in the shape of ships fighting. And like I said, it was rather peaceful, which was really odd. And so I do have those, but normally there's no sky, like it's just black. And those are the ones that always really confuse me. I had, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute, but I had detailed at once being taught how to fly. And I found that to be really important because that dream happened, of course everybody dreams about flying, but in this instance I was being taught by a particular entity, and that entity would come back in recurring dreams to further teach me. So it wasn't just one, it wasn't just two. This was multiple dreams over a period of years that this entity would come back. Were you flying in a
craft, or was your body flying?
My body. And I'll elaborate on that too. So I attribute, it was a red cat. It was just your normal size house cat, short fur, and he was red. Now I have a tattoo of a red cat. So immediately I was like, oh, okay, well that's where my brain picked it up from. Whatever. And maybe, I don't know, if it was something or someone else, maybe they took that form because I'm familiar with that and it would be easiest for me to recognize, or maybe it was an actual fucking red cat that was like, hey, I'm going to show this guy stuff, whatever. He was super patient. He had a very deep voice for a cat, not like deep by human standards, but you wouldn't expect it coming from a cat. Very short in his responses and very encouraging. Like he was a natural born teacher. Like he had done this before. And it started in my best friend's backyard in high school. The way I felt I needed to do it was if I jumped and held myself in that space, like you would jump up and grab onto a ledge. If I just held to that area, I wouldn't come back down. And I did it a couple times and I finally got it. And then I could jump and hold myself in the air, and then I'd get excited and lose concentration and then fall back down. And that eventually evolved to where I could run up the sides of walls, and then I was running along the fence, and he came back and showed me a couple more times. In that general area, it was an old neighborhood I grew up in where my best friend's parents lived. And so that happened for a while. And then I had other dreams of flying, just really random stuff that I didn't attribute to anything. And then the last one, it was normally a familiar setting. It was always somewhere that I knew, that I felt comfortable. This time it wasn't. It was take like this is just a general description. Take a house, and you're looking at this house from outside, and in your peripheral there's another house, and there's a street, and there's trees, and you can see the sky, and you can see the line of everything behind the house. Now take that all away and just keep the house. What's left? The sky, all expanding with just that house. That was the kind of scene I was in, except it was a courtyard, a playground rather, in like a daycare, because there were chalk drawings on the floor and like kids' toys everywhere. And one half of it, like two walls, were the outside of the building, red brick, and the other two walls were a chain link fence. Now, if I'm in the fence and I look to my right, I can see a tree and a street, just barely, just right there. And the tree is it's fall, which is my favorite season, so that's kind of cool. But he was teaching me how to fly again, and this was sometime later, and I felt like I had messed up. Like I had this feeling like I messed up or I failed somewhere, and so he had to teach me again because I couldn't quite hold myself, which was really frustrating. But I eventually was able to do it again, which kind of frustrated him because I got excited and lost focus again. But that one was weird, really weird, completely unfamiliar to me. Like it had the dressings of trying to be comfortable, but it just wasn't quite right.
Have you had that dream? Are you still having those dreams with the cat now?
I have not seen him in a while. Now, when I talked to someone about it, and that's when the idea of being taught how to pilot a craft came from.
The idea of
I
what?
guess being taught how to pilot a craft.
Yeah.
Supposedly, it's a mental connection, and based upon my understanding of things, it was if I can gain control of myself and how I move, if I can hold myself, I can fly, just gain overall control of myself, then anything, once I have that, anything my mind is linked to, I then have control of as well. Not complicated, very simple.
Carlos Castaneda in his books, when he was doing his lucid dreaming and everything like that, he would say, he'd start with his hands, to get control of his hands, and then it would somehow go from there.
Um, I've never heard that. I actually don't know very much about lucid dreaming other than the random off times that I've done it on accident. I attempted it intentionally one time, which probably was not the smartest thing in the world for me to do, and I honestly have no idea what the hell I did. I really couldn't tell you. When I lived in Corpus, I worked with some people, and they claimed to be able to visit each other in their dreams. Okay, cool. Tell me how. I want to do that shit. I want to go see people in my dreams. So they explained how they did it. It was like I want to say it was like self-hypnosis. I laid down and convinced myself, like stiff as a board, light as a feather kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I convinced myself that I was, just flat, straight, bored, and that I was going to go to sleep, but I was going to stay awake. Mm-hmm. And I just kept repeating that to myself. And I eventually did. And then I got up and walked out to the living room, and it was daytime, and nobody was there. And then I woke up and walked out into the living room, and it was fucking Christmas. And then I woke up and walked out into the living room, and relatives I hadn't seen in years were there. And then I woke up, and it just kept happening over and over. And finally I got scared. Like, I got actually very scared and thought, holy shit, this isn't going to stop. And then I woke up for real. And it was the most frightening thing in the world because I walked around. Like, I checked stuff out. Like, I was trying to prove to myself that maybe this time I am actually awake, and then I'd wake up again. So don't try that. I wouldn't suggest that for anybody. It was not fun at all.
Yeah, no, right. And that sounds like something that if somebody wanted to do that, they should probably have some guidance or some type of somebody they trust, a shaman or something like that.
Yeah. Oh God, a babysitter at the very least. Yeah. No, a shaman preferably. I'd imagine. I was an absolute fool for thinking that I could do something like that without knowing what the hell I was getting myself into.
Yeah. It sounds
so
like
for
you could
anybody
get trapped
who
outside of your
thinks
body and
that,
not be able to get back in or something.
dude, well, my a very big concern I had for a few weeks following that was, what if I had contacted something? What if something had seen me and decided to follow me back? Like, what if I got somebody's attention? Anything's attention. And I didn't like that idea.
Wild animal in the ether or whatever.
Yeah, I think back to, this is silly, but I think back to H.P. Lovecraft and his Hounds of Tenderloin story. Dogs that would hunt you down if you decided to travel through time.
Yeah. Hey, let me grab my headphones right quick. I see your headphones there, and I'm struggling a little bit to hear you. I know right where they are.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. I've got my headphones here and my headphone extenders. I knew I was forgetting something earlier.
Yeah, I need to invest in a new set of Bluetooth headphones, man. I swear by those things. If I start cutting out, let me know. My phone's been acting really weird for the past week. I have almost full bars, and it's telling me I have poor connection status. And my internet's been cutting in and out for like at least the past few days. I don't know why.
Well, I guess you noticed, and I can hear you so much better now. I guess you noticed by watching our video that there was a lag in the audio on your side.
Was there?
Did you not notice
Okay.
that?
I No, because I was listening to it, not watching it.
Right.
For the most part.
Well, you're streaming, of course, and so a lot of times there is latency, but it
Yeah,
was kind of worse than normal, but also then again you are in Alaska, so. Uh,
that's true.
but anyway, I did, was almost conspiratorial mind and thinking, oh my gosh, they're fucking with us or something,
I had a moment of thinking that, like, oh shit, now they've tagged my phone.
Yeah, and now I got to turn this other camera on. That DSLR that I use. It's a Canon T6.
Mm-hmm.
It just only records for 12 minutes at a time. Then you have to restart it.
Oh no, I get that.
Yeah, but it gets a damn good picture. Hunter, what's wrong, buddy? You having fun? Oh, you want to be on camera? I think you want to be on camera. My little movie start. Okay, guys, let's get this turned back on here. Okay, got that on. Okay, come here, buddy. Come here, Dudler. Oh, you want to be? You want? You on the wire? Oh.
Puppy dog. God.
Oh.
That face.
Well, he didn't do it. Okay, you can stay right there, buddy. My headphones came unplugged. So, there's it was real weird what you were talking about, these missions, these, I'm not going to call them dreams, but these sequence of
So,
sequences of
so yeah,
events.
I was going to elaborate on the black sky, and that's where that ties in. Um, so I really, I guess, first started paying, other than like the nightmares as a kid, I really started paying attention more recently than long ago to certain dreams I was having. And there's one in particular, I don't know if I mentioned this, I don't think I mentioned this last time, I may have. There's a black sky and a dome shape, like a weird dome shaped structure. And the sky was completely black. The ground was just rock, like a canyon, so to speak. There was no plant life or anything like that around. And the structure, honestly, I want to say it almost seemed organic, like not something that was made. But it had he- hexagons, hexagonal shapes, like little indents around it. Um, I don't want to say turtle shell, but like for lack of a better term, kind of like a turtle shell. Um, but I went in this thing and I entered it, and there's no light source, but I could see, like it almost like it glowed naturally. I was able to see in there, but there's no light source, and I couldn't, but I still couldn't see into the back. And I knew there was more back there, but I was too caught up in what because the indents were on the inside as well, and I couldn't understand what that meant, and I think I focused too long on that or something like that. Um, so that kind of started it, and that was really weird. And then there's been numerous times of exploring, for lack of a better term, ruins, and I mean anything from, think of the most fantastical Lord of the Rings elven city to underground waterfalls is the best thing I can explain it. Best way I can explain it. But there's nobody there. It's all completely empty, and I really just spend my time looking for people. That's it, just trying to find people. And then that kind of evolved, and I found myself this time, again, black sky. Um, it was an old theater, like what, from the 60s or something like that. It was old as hell, completely run down, um, like in a bad part of the city kind of thing. And I was walking through, and at first I thought I was by myself. Like I thought it was just me. But then I could see feet. Like when I looked down, because there were children everywhere. Like at first there were none, and then they were just all over the place. And they were wrapped in blankets. They were huddled in corners, sleeping in the hallways, just everywhere. Like this was the last place they had to go. There was nowhere else for them to go, and so they were just here, just existing. And I don't know if I was counting them or trying to see exactly how many there were, but I was walking through and there was somebody with me. God damn it. I see shoes. I just see shoes following me. Um, and that kind of left a really, I don't want to say a bad taste in my mouth, but it was weird. It weirded me out because, for one, why the hell am I going to dream about that? Um, and then there was nothing for, I think, a couple months, nothing that I could remember anyway. And then I went to a party, and I'm just going to say this as loosely as possible. I went to a party, and there was a lot of people there, a lot of what you'd expect. It was kind of like a Hollywood party. Everybody's in suits and everyone's dressed up, and everybody hates each other, but they're smiling and looking nice just in case there's a camera there. And I believe I was having a good time. I don't see why I'd be having a bad time. And this is going to sound really bad, so I'm sorry, but I saw a porn star there. And as soon as I saw her face, I realized this is not real. This is not happening. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I realized that, 5 guys approached me. And I mean, they were like, they were tall, freaking big ass, like the scary guys in the rapper video kind of shit. You know, like they were completely out of place in this top-notch high-end party. And they came up and they started talking to me, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you if I thought it was a good idea or if I had no choice, but they were going to take me somewhere else. And so I went along with them. And we went to a side, we left the main party area and we went kind of towards the front door, and then it dipped off into a side hallway. And it was a long hallway, and at the end of it, there's a really large ornate door, like a dark oak door, and it was just like had beautiful carvings in it. It was fantastic. I don't know why I thought it was fantastic, but it was an amazing goddamn door. And they take me up to it, and you know they're talking amongst themselves, and I know that this is VIP. Like this is where the big guys go. They go in here, and I'm not supposed to be in here. I don't know if I'm supposed to go in here, but this is exactly where they're going to take me. And then I wasn't there anymore. And then I was on the street. And there was a woman there. And she, like, I don't know if she snapped in front of my face or, like, put her hand on my shoulder or something, but she, you know, pulled my attention towards her, like, hey, follow me. And so we started walking down the street. And I have no idea what the hell we talked about, but you know, the sky again is black, and there's buildings. It's a street. It's like a business area. It's a street, and we get no cars or anything, no people, nobody anywhere else. And we get to this building that I originally thought was an apartment complex because of the way it was structured, and it had the parking lot underneath, and then all of the building part was, you know, above, and you could see everything perfectly. And there was a side structure which was just a series of staircases which you could take to get to different parts, and I think that's what made me think it was an apartment complex. But she kept looking at it, and then she would look at me and, like, you know, like, do you get it? Like, do you understand? And then would look back at it, and I have no fucking clue what she was trying to tell me. I have no idea. And that's where that ended.
What was she? What was she looking at, though?
The building.
The what?
The building.
Oh, the building. Okay.
The building that, yeah, I thought was an apartment complex.
Right.
I don't think it was an apartment complex anymore, but she just kept looking at that like her showing it to me would make things make sense.
Right.
And they didn't.
Right.
Just more confused. But I saw her. I believe it was her. I believe it was her. I saw her again in another instance, and this was kind of what I was worried about, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on, and I'm worried about, I guess, somebody putting pieces together before I can.
You mentioned
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if I don't have anything to, you know, go off of if I guess maybe I'm hoping somebody else would know something I don't. Like, just any kind of insight would be fantastic.
Yeah, and that they're watching this right now.
I would hope so. But this time it was like a school, I guess, would be the best way to explain it. I want to say more, I guess, my idea of like an elementary school. And if you're San Antonio, Texas at all, then you're pretty familiar with what the elementary schools look like. And it was me and her. And when I say her, the best way I can describe her is honestly your cliche idea of like a rookie FBI agent. You know, she had shoulder length black hair, pale skin. She had, you know, the jacket, blazer, button up white shirt with a tie, black slacks, black dress shoes. It was all kept way too well. Like, she tried way too hard. If she hears this, I'm so sorry that that's my impression. But I mean, she knew what she was doing, obviously. But we broke into this. I say it looks like a school, but I always call it a facility in my head. And we broke into this place, and it was dark. But we searched everywhere. I swear to God, every damn room we went through it, man. And then we found them, and it was a group of children between the ages of like 5 and 8 years old. And there were at least between a dozen and 2 dozen of them, easily. And they were all huddled in a classroom, an office, something like that. They're all huddled in there. And as soon as I have like this perfect image of her doing this L'Oreal commercial with her hair, this hair flip thing, this whole like we've got him kind of thing, you know. And then we took them and we got the hell out. And that's when I looked back, like actually looked back at the building, and that's when it dawned on me, like, oh, the sky's black again.
So at that point, the building became real. But where were the kids? Since everything's turned back to real, where were the kids?
I have no idea.
They just yeah. Where was the girl? Did she disappear too?
There's this. I have no idea where. Like I don't know.
Right. I mean, and it almost sounds like you don't almost know where the dream ended or the vision or whatever it was, and where reality got started. It's kind of that was kind of confusing too.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, it's hard to think about because it doesn't make sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, it could cause cognitive dissonance. It could hurt you just to think about that.
Which is like my favorite term because it seems to be an all too common thing these days. Yeah, definitely. But I guess my main concern right now is where did they go and are they okay?
One reason I brought up this deal, Paul, about the 5-star group is because a lot of these people that are on there have these type of missions where they're saving people, and a lot of times it's children, and that's just too much of a bizarre coincidence. And some of these people even say I'm there with them, doing these things, and it's just the most confounding, really weird thing. I mean, I'm not having any of these memories or anything like this, but I'm one of
But to
the
hear people say it, yeah.
yeah, and I'm in this group with them, and not all of them are. It's a very strange group. You can imagine. Uh, it's I don't know if you were to say, like, if there was a type of class system, whatever, in the conspiracy genre. There's a couple that are on shows and stuff pretty regularly, like Kevin Trimmel. Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, he's in the group, and then Nate. Dave Marrow is in the group. He's been on the Basis Project. He's a large black man. Do you know who he is?
Not too familiar, no.
Well, he's one that goes on a lot of these adventures, and he's somebody he's a very kind and nice, gentle man. He's a giant of a man, and I'm talking about real life. Yeah, he's huge, but some of the people in this group have really been through hell, and but they've all been through it long enough where most of there's some people, there's one person that fell out of the group because there's some. We probably all got problems. Let me just put it like that.
Who doesn't these days?
Right, but I mean, it's different in this group. I mean, I'm not saying the problems are the challenges. Let's just put it like that way. The challenges are worse than your average human being.
Yeah.
And considering
the context, I can imagine. Yeah.
Right, and so I'm going to talk to KJ and see if she'll think about letting you in, because I think you could probably get some good advice. I don't know what that might be or from who it might be from, but there's just a good resource of people that have been through some of the things that we've been through.
I'd appreciate that.
Hey, no worries. I'm going to grab my hat right quick.
Okay.
I'm going to restart the camera. Hey, I got a kick out of this. See if you recognize that hat.
Is that hers?
You recognize that? San Antonio Spurs.
Yep. That's
I
funny.
got that when I was in San Antonio just a few weeks ago.
God.
I went down there to see this girl that was having some experiences. Well, I say girl, lady, and
Mhm.
she had lots of you know documentary or film type evidence and stuff like that. And San Antonio seems to be kind of a hot spot for a lot of this stuff.
San Antonio is a very weird place. Yeah, I mean, just like weird houses that I've lived in. Like, I have a buddy of mine who, for a while, was just ghost hunting anywhere he could, just because he was always finding weird shit going on. It's like it was kind of freaky, but yeah.
Yeah, and then of course there's that big military presence there.
Oh yeah, yeah, which is ridiculous. I didn't realize. I'm I was fairly ignorant. Probably am still fairly ignorant in a lot of ways, but I didn't realize how big the military presence was just in Texas in general for a long time.
Yeah, just up the road we have Killeen, which is about an hour from here, and it's the largest Air Force base in the world.
God.
I mean, just an hour from where we are right now. Wow.
And to think, like, we all grew up in Texas pretty much. I pretty much grew up in Texas. That kind of scares me considering. Um, I always think, ever since I found out that a lot of the Operation Paperclip scientists were sent to El Paso, I've never looked at El Paso the same. Like, because I was born there, like that was not a cool thing to learn.
Yeah, really. Let me show you this. Let me show you this picture right quick here. Oh, just give me a moment here. It's always real easy to find. Let's see. Yep, there we go. First picture. Now let me see if I can send this to you, and I'll of course put it up there for our viewers to see what we're looking at. So they're while they're watching this, they'll see it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so I got it right there. Now I'm bringing up our. Oh, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Let's put it on the chat. I mean, on our little chat here. Oh, okay.
Show me.
Okay. Do you see the picture?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize any of those people?
It's kind of grainy. I'm gonna go ahead and say no.
Okay, well,
But the person, the second to the right, second from the right, looks really familiar.
oh, he does? Wow, that's weird that you would say that. Because that's my great uncle.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my great uncle George Mahon, the congressional leader George Mahon. Now, the second from the left is Nazi rocket scientist Werner von Braun. And on the far left is then Governor Jerry or Gerald Ford, who later became president. And the man on the far right is the director of NASA at the time. And you mentioned Operation Paperclip, and Operation Paperclip was created by my great uncle. Unfortunately, he's the man responsible for bringing all the Nazi scientists over here. He was also in charge of the Manhattan Project. He also he controlled my great uncle controlled every dime of the American military defense budget for over 40 years, and that's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. Okay, this is all very easy to document. And he also created a few little groups that you've probably never heard of. Groups with the names like the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and NASA. All that shit was created by my great uncle. The plot thickens.
Damn.
The plot thickens. That's why the title of my book, readers can buy online right now at my website, youdon'tknow.io. The name of my book is My Family Created the National Security State, and then in parentheses, no need to thank me. So it's a bizarre life, but I'm sure there's nothing going on with me, right?
No, you're fine.
I'm fine. Yeah, it's just all a coincidence. I'm not under mind control either. Okay.
Oh man,
it's a bizarre life, man.
God. Oh, speaking of mind control, after God, I went. I was trying to look up something on MK Ultra a couple of days ago. I do not recall, for some reason, ever hearing that blue birds were a symbol used. Did you ever hear that?
Well, let me sing a little song for you I wrote one time, because I've been to prison twice, and the type of buses that take you to prison are called a bluebird. Catch the train, right in the bluebird ticket to pain. So that, to me, that's what a bluebird means. It's a prison bus.
Damn. That was really kind of an unexpected twist right there, because I was thinking, I was fixated on two things: Twitter, which is a bluebird, and the whole what we were talking about last time with the whole blue avian thing, and how that's gone way out there with some of the shit particular people are saying. And I immediately began to wonder, was that a psyop? Was that a triggering for people?
Listen, just the fact alone that it's the symbol of a prison bus in Texas, of the Texas Department of Corrections, what used to be called the Texas. I mean,
yeah,
for sure. I mean, because the bluebird, that's something nice and melodic and pretty and everything. But then, what does it really mean? And it's also eerily reminiscent of the butterfly, right? The monarch butterfly. It's so beautiful and everything, but there's a darker meaning.
The image that came to mind was Disney and their use of little birds, little blue birds flying around. That and like you say, butterflies. That fluttering. Yeah, exactly. God, and we all know how much Disney loves the children.
Oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine coming my way. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day, with the bluebird on my shoulder. It's the truth.
God damn.
It's natural. Yeah. And I can
It's
I just have all these songs just memorized. I mean, I don't know that I know them, but I can just boom, just sing them from beginning to end. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Talk about programming.
uh
Talk about
yes.
imprinting. Yeah,
God
talk about
damn.
imprinting. Yeah. And then with the Mandela effect, one of the biggest aspects of the Mandela effect was, Sleeping Beauty, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest
Yeah.
of them all? Is
Mm-mm.
that the way you remember it?
Yes, mirror, mirror, not magic mirror.
Not Magic
Apparently,
Mirror.
the rest of the world remembers it that way too. It has been misquoted all throughout history.
Yeah,
Well,
by
since
about 3/4 of the population.
yeah,
There's always somebody that sees it the other way, the way that the videos show it, the way that it is in reality now.
yeah,
But it was not in reality like that when we grew up.
no,
I mean, the Mandela effect is one of the most bizarre things to ever come down the pike.
dude, didn't banana trees grow with the banana coming down, and now they grow up?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Look that one up. I remember playing the Lion King video game when I was a kid for Sega, and the monkeys would throw. But no, it wasn't the Lion King. It was Aladdin, and the monkeys would throw bananas at you, and the monkey trees, Jesus, the banana trees, the bananas grew down. I've always remembered bananas growing down, and I was wrong. They fucking grow up. They
You,
defy.
you mean like in nature they grow up?
Yeah, like God, how can I? So, like, let's imagine my fingers are bananas. Normally, they would grow down, right? They would bunch together like that. Well, they grow up and bunch up like that.
That's fascinating.
It's fucking ridiculous. It frustrates me.
Yeah,
That whole thing frustrates me.
one thing that's interesting about the Mandela effect is like okay, I remember it, mirror mirror on the wall. Apparently it was magic mirror on the wall. Some people, I had a friend that even
Mm-hmm.
argued that thing with me. Oh, the human mind, memory, and all this stuff. I was like, bullshit. I know what it was, but it was interesting. They found these old like prom, you know, dances where the theme was mirror mirror on the wall. And all this
Mm-hmm.
Cinderella shit. And it didn't say magic mirror. It said mirror mirror. And then James Earl Jones, who did the voice of Darth Vader. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Do I have you back?
Yeah, yeah. I got a little symbol on
Okay.
the screen that said the connection was lost, and I was like, "What? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And I was like, "You're all frozen." I was like, "Yeah." Anyway, I
Oh, this
guess.
is wild. I have full bars, and it's telling me poor connection.
Well, it could have been on this side. I mean, there's some kind of weird thing going on here where it goes off every once in a while, not too often. And I was fixing to go check this CGI outlet over there because one of my roommates has determined that it's somehow when it goes out that you check that CGI outlet and it just fixes it or whatever.
It's always some weird off the wall thing. I hate
Yeah,
electronics sometimes.
I heard
Um,
your brother's back in town.
yes.
That's great, man.
Actually, speaking of, yeah, I'm actually very thrilled about that. I plan to come down and visit, like, in the next month or two.
Well, that's good. I hope they don't try to make you stay. you know, uh,
Uh, I know they're gonna try.
of course,
Oh,
yeah,
I
we
know.
both know that. But you know what? It's you're more for the big city, man. That little bullshit town there, man. That's fuck that, man.
I can't. It is insane. Any place that has like what one bar and three churches is not any place you want to be. I think, in my opinion,
Has one what?
one bar and three churches, like
Oh,
on one street. Like, nah, I don't know about that.
yeah.
Um,
No, it ain't for you, brother. And yeah, it's just there's there's some shady shit going on in that town.
yeah, I believe it. It just has the look of it. Uh, I would like to be closer to family, definitely.
Hmm.
but it's
I mean, you're
yeah,
big.
I don't know.
You're a city guy now. You know what I mean? I mean,
Well,
you always were. I mean, in San Antonio and everything. You know.
I yeah, I yes,
I mean, I'm not gonna.
that's
You
not a
know.
lie, but I think as I've gotten older, honestly, I've become more and more afraid of cities.
Oh yeah.
I think it has, yeah, I don't know, like the large grouping of people or something like that. I try to rationalize it, um, and tell myself that if the world does finally go to shit, or when the world finally does go to shit, being
Hmm.
around all those people probably isn't smart.
Oh no, no, no. The city's gonna be one of the last places you want to be if everything goes to
Exactly.
hell in a handbasket.
So no, I don't know. That's why I kind of like Alaska because you could always just flee into the woods or something, but then it gets cold. So,
Yeah, very cold.
but yeah, I don't. Trying to think. I don't. As far as like to go back, like way back to what I was saying. As far as like all that other stuff, I haven't really experienced anything lately, like in more recent days
That you remember.
that I remember. Yes, that's yeah. There's that. Um, I I mean, really, no. I think like the most strange, other than the earthquake, uh, the most strange occurrence would be every now and then coming home to find like the front and back door open.
Front and
But
back door.
yeah, wide open, nothing missing, in an area where thefts happen all the time. So I just assume my roommate doesn't, lock the door when they leave. But yeah, either that or I just don't want to think about that one yet.
Yeah, you know what would be cool is if you could. I don't know. I mean, if you're ever gonna like interview people, but if you could interview Dr. Nick Begich. Do you know who he is?
Wait,
Nick Be-
Begich? The
Nick Begich.
Yeah.
You know who he is?
Wait, wait. The didn't he run?
Oh, for office?
Oh, I'm thinking Mark Begich, aren't I?
They could be related. Nick Begich wrote the book back, I think, in the '90s called "Angels Don't Play This Harp," but harp is spelled
Oh
HAARP.
my God, that's right. No, I've heard of that book. I didn't, not the author though. He's still up here?
Oh yeah, yeah. He's an Alaskan. You know, he lives up there by that shit, and he just happens to be some type of doctor scientist. That's kind of like that shit's kind of right up his alley. You know.
Weird. That book like recently came across my radar when I was looking into DEWs, but I hadn't read it or anything yet. So that's funny that you mention it now. I will look into that.
Yeah, the High Active Auroral Research Project, and that was the world, maybe the world's first weather modification, weaponized weather
Well,
system, weapon.
it's one of many, I think. I don't know how
Now
big
it
or
is.
famous the other one. Yeah, well now, yeah, definitely now.
Oh
But at
yeah.
the time, yeah, you're right.
Well, I
Um,
firmly believe Hurricane Katrina, that tsunami, and all that shit was created by these exact same devices.
so HARP, well, as they say, it was shut down for a period of time.
Oh, I didn't
Shut
know that.
shut down.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
For
but
repairs,
then, yeah, yeah. Um, I honestly don't remember the reason. It was something like they just didn't use it anymore, didn't need it, or something like
just like
that.
mind
Uh,
control. Yeah.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
when
yeah.
they
It
quit
came
doing
up for,
that,
yeah. We just
yeah,
threw it in the waste bin.
yeah.
It's done. So what they ended up doing is they gave HARP to the University of Fairbanks, Alaska. So Fairbanks University runs it, and I believe last I heard from them, anything on it was they were sick and tired of people calling to talk about the conspiracy,
Oh,
and that just made me laugh. But
oh, poor
um,
guys.
it is, from my understanding, it is operational and working again.
Oh yeah, it's capable of phen- phenomenal destruction. During the Cold War, Khrushchev who's known to be a hard ass, the leader of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
He came to, deal with Kennedy and everything like that, and he was really vying for peace and everything like that. And the whole world believed that he was really concerned about these nuclear bombs. He didn't give a fuck about that. It was this scalar weaponry that, like they have up there the HARP weapon.
It's frightening, man.
Yeah, it's a type of technology. They're sending millions of volts up into the ionosphere, and they can bounce it off. They can get these scalar potentials going. They could like either freeze something to the most coldest. I mean, like 1,000 degrees below zero, or they could like 1,000,000 degrees above zero. I mean, they could just vaporize shit. This whole stuff with weather, with hurricanes and all that shit. That's just child's play compared to what
it's one giant global thermostat, and they can just direct it wherever they want.
Exactly.
I did think HARP, and that's what led me to start looking into DEWs more, like Lockheed Martin, when the earthquake happened, because here in Alaska when it happened, because I started asking people, because everybody's like, oh, where were you? Are you okay? Blah, blah, what's going on? And every like fourth or fifth person would say something about lightning or seeing green. Now, if you've never been to Alaska, one thing you never see is lightning. I have not seen. I think I've seen it like maybe once, or I heard thunder. I think is what it was, and I was pissed off because I didn't see it. But I really have not seen a lightning storm or anything since I left Texas.
Why do they not have lightning in Alaska?
I don't know. Something with the elevation, I think. I don't. I should have looked that up. I feel dumb now, but I really couldn't tell you. But you don't see it here, and that's what everyone was saying, or every few people was saying, was that they either saw lightning or green, or in one case, a coworker of mine, and that conversation, I think I talked about this previously, that conversation got real interesting real quick, but he saw lightning and then a green flash and then lightning again, and then the earth started shaking. And like, what the fuck? What are the chances of all that at the time of an earthquake, right?
Right.
Well, then this guy, and this, he doesn't believe in anything conspiratorial in any sense at all. He's very, very humble, very chill, very, he's a really good IT guy. And he was talking about, he started talking about HARP. Oddly enough, the conversation went there. And he was describing how he had a friend who worked there, and he was in his office, and his friend had stepped out for some reason, and he saw something on the desk, and he decided, I'm going to flip through it for whatever reason. And he flipped through it, and as he started reading it, he realized that this was something he was not supposed to be looking at, and closed it and put it back on the desk and pretended nothing happened. He says that it was a document that had been sent by the Air Force to the HARP facility, wanting to use the HARP technology to bounce. From my understanding, it's like bouncing a camera. It would shoot a camera, let's say, to Moscow, and it would shoot this camera all the way to Moscow, and it would go through a building, and it would see a piece of paper on a table. And then it would take that image of that piece of paper and everything written on it on that table and bounce it back to the HARP station. And then you'd get a clear image of what's written on that piece of paper, and so that they could spy on people.
Just like with waves. Without
energy. I said a camera, but just with energy.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. It's unbelievable.
And that was the first time I'd ever heard anything like that, but I really wouldn't put it past, considering things, I wouldn't put it past anybody right now.
Oh yeah. They must have been, in the old King Arthur days and stuff like that. I mean, there's something to this sorcery. They were getting some kind of results.
I found it interesting that we reached a point, as humans, we really believed in magic, like that whole spiritual mysticism, like we really, really did, and a lot of us still do. Yeah. Yeah, but then science took a hold in this way that wasn't, hey, learn things from this perspective. It was, hey, this is the absolute truth now. And I found myself wondering why that other side of our being has been pushed away. Why do
Right.
we laugh at it and ridicule it now?
Well, we've been taught to, and what's very interesting is like everyone knows scientists don't believe in magic or ceremonial magic or the occult or anything like that, except for the ones at the very top.
Mm,
Have you ever noticed that? It's like
yep.
scientists, oh, we don't believe in that shit, except for the ones at the very fucking top, and they're like 100% into it.
And
See,
then what do they call it? Fringe science at that point?
whatever, just secret societies or it's weird. One of the weirdest things I found out is this. Colonel Tom Bearden. He talks about scalar potential and scalar energy and stuff. Like if it's just it's been around forever, we've got it, and all this stuff. He writes books about it. He's in the
Hmm.
military. It's like there's two different realities going on. It's like they don't. I mean, this guy's just over here talking about it all the time as if it's no big deal, and then everybody else is like, well, we think we can discover it. It might be real, or we don't think it's real, saying that they don't even know if it exists. And this guy's over here talking about it like it's just.
But which one of those are going to end up on TV?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Dr. Tom Bearden is he's not on TV. Okay, good point with that. But I mean, he's all over the internet, and he sometimes they kind of get cornered on that question, and he'll just say, "Oh,
Mm.
well, mainstream science isn't ready to accept that yet." I mean, he has this deal, but I mean, he's getting paid by the government to do this shit. I mean,
It. I feel sometimes that there's a trickle attempt to leak out bits of information, and it's not like I mean, like commercials, for instance. Like, there's a goddamn nasal congestion commercial which says, everybody gets congested. Dogs get congested, birds get congested, people get congested, and then the last one is even aliens get congested. And or the STEM commercial where the lady's talking to a group of young girls and is trying to get them interested in science so that they can go explore space. And it ends on the note of one little girl who's like, "I want to find aliens." And I'm like, why the fuck is this everywhere? Like, what are they? Like, they're putting it into the consciousness as this global acceptance thing.
yeah,
If we
yeah,
can
they're
slowly break down your sense of reality to accept the real reality, it'll make this go more smoothly.
yeah, they're ramming it down our throats. That I'll tell you what's going on. They're ramming it down our throats, and so the idea is, of course, with disclosure, which is
Hmm.
just the biggest joke I've ever heard in
Oh
my
yeah.
life. Because here's an idea: disclosure that somehow the government will reveal that they've known all along about these aliens and will usher in a new age of a new golden age of science and reason. And all these great things will come about because there's been a cover up. That we have to have the disclosure because there's been a cover up for the last 50 years. I call fucking bullshit. What cover up? There has been no cover up. We've had a steady diet of science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, all this shit crammed down our throats since before our parents were born. There is no cover up. That's what I refute. So if there's no cover up, how can there be a disclosure?
This we're living the disclosure.
Yeah, I mean they've been ramming. Yeah, and it's a lie. I
And
mean there
that,
may be some truth to it, but you can bet they're gonna pack plenty of lie in there.
well, that goes with the whole karmic thing. They have to put truth in there somewhere so that they're off the hook.
Yeah, and just to make it believable too.
Hmm.
But I think what we're seeing now, like Josh Reeves, he's talking about the Standing Rock. Where the people had these not riots, but these protests at Standing Rock. You know what I'm talking about? The Indian up in North Dakota, and people were mad because they were running
Yes,
the
for the pipeline.
pipeline. Yeah, through the dude. That's not even anything at all what it's purported to be. First of all, they flooded those Indians' lands to make Lake Okeechobee or whatever it's called, and they do that all over the place. They even did it in Texas at Lake Ray Hubbard at Rockwall, Texas. The reason they make these huge lakes is to cover up ancient sites that have high technology on them. And now at Standing Rock, they want to dig they could just go a few miles over here and just go right around it. But no, they for some reason want to dig a pipeline under the lake at a cost of, $1 trillion or something like that when they could just go over there. It's wide open territory. It's like, I wonder what you really want to do with these tunnels under the lake.
What?
Get down there. I heard in where up there where you live in Alaska, Linda Moulton House says there's some big black mountain or something like that they think is a pyramid.
I believe. Yeah, man, I looked into this one a while ago. Is it? I think it's under. It's supposed to be under Denali. It's a giant black pyramid. If you. Oh, God damn it. Like in the early 90s, I might be wrong because I want to say 92 or 96. But sometime in the 90s, there was a news broadcast that was released on air. Everybody got to see it, and they talked about it. It was talked about. And some gentleman was like, oh, shit, and went to the news station and asked about it. Hey, can we get that? Like, can I get a copy of that? And he was told, we have no idea what you're talking about. That never happened. Please go away. And it was somebody else who worked at that station approached him and said, hey, I know what you're talking about. It exists. They made us trash it.
Yeah, I've heard that exact same story. And now, what time is it there where you are? You're in a different time zone, right?
Yeah, it's about 3:10 right now.
Okay. Well, I think it's about 2 hours ahead now, so it's about 5:10 here. And I do have to get some stuff copied at FedEx office, but I also have to run over here just about 15 minutes over here to go see if I'm totally not making this up. I'm going to take my dog out there. And that gift that I left for Bigfoot, one of my psychics has told me that Bigfoot's left something for me over there. So I'm going to go, trekking through the woods.
Check that out.
Yeah, and let me tell you. You'll be the first one. I'll give you a call if there's something there. I fully expect to get there and see that everything is still there, nothing's been disturbed.
Yeah.
Or at the very most, some homeless people got it. But I definitely do not expect to see a message from Bigfoot. But if I do, you'll be the first one to know.
Hell yeah. Well, I'd say I don't know. I'd say take your camera just in case, but.
Yeah. I think I'm not supposed to, but I kind of can't remember that. No, I'm gonna take it for sure.
Yeah. No, there's things about that too. I wrestle with that. Like, do I want the camera? Would it even work at that time anyway?
Yeah, they're hard to fumble with. When the UFO appears or whatever like that. There's I wouldn't know. But hey, man, we ought to make this. We ought to make this a regular thing. I get a sense that you got a lot more to tell. And the viewers seem to be really interested.
Well, I'm glad for that. I'm hoping it helps somebody at some point or another. Right. I apologize when I start talking. I get like shaky for some reason. I haven't quite figured that one out. I don't know if it's obvious, but.
Well, no, it's really not. And you are a lot more calm on this one than you were on the last one. And I mean, not that that's a problem anyway. But yeah, I mean, like you were saying, maybe some people can get something out of this, but conversely, you and we're looking for answers, So
there's a lot to be had.
It does. All right. Well, hey man, promise me if that place over there in Fredericksburg or whatever, that's only like about maybe an hour and a half from here. So just let me know when you're coming down here, and I'll come pay you a visit.
Yeah, definitely. That would be cool. Go grab a beer or something.
I'll get this. Yeah, I'll get this video out, and you can check it out later today.
Right on.
All right, man.
Well, good luck with your check.
Yes. I better be careful. All right, man. Talk to you later.
Yep. Have a good night.